Up. Good afternoon from New York. Good evening in Israel. Good morning on the West Coast. What a pleasure it is to be encountering you today as we learn so much more about the amazing work which is conducted by Yad Sarah in Israel. And today our focus is going to be on the branch in Beersheva. And we are joined with 5 exceptional guests. We have Jacob, Yaakov, and Drora Gopas. We have Lynne and David Conroy, and we have Ruben Sifrim, and I am Michael Miller. I'm a very proud board member of Yad Sarah. And I also volunteer. One of the things that I volunteer is to be a moderator of these webinars. And this one I'm very excited about because I've read so much about what's happening in Beersheva. So let's get down to it like right away. So we're going to first start by asking a very simple question, and you can introduce yourselves and the roles that you play at the Beersheva branch of Yad Sarah. The question is, how did you get started volunteering at Yad Sarah? So we'll start first with who we're going to start with? Drora. Why don't we start with you? How did you get started? I know we're going to go backwards to Yaakov, but we'll start with Drora.
Well, it's one question to 2 people, so and the same answer probably. So we're friends with Michael Benson, and who was the manager of the place for the past, up until about a year and a half ago, for about 10 years. And when he turned 80, which happened the summer a year and a half ago, he decided that that's enough. And the place was looking for menahalim, for managers, for, I guess, over a year. We knew about it. We were just on, it was the Corona time, and we were both on the edge of retiring. And somehow it fell all together to the same place. And so Michael mentioned it to us. He didn't really want to force it, but so we knew that the place needs like somebody to replace Michael. And so we decided, after some months to be at home, retiring and Corona, we said, okay, let's go and let's do it. And that's the way it was. And now it's about a year and 3 months that we're there.
Wow, that's an exceptionally long time. So Yaakov, do you want to add anything before I move to someone else?
Yeah, Drora is fully retired for what she used to do. She was a principal of a big school, and later on she worked in the
headquarters of Reshet Amit network of in Israel. Yeah.
So she retired completely, but I'm at the university, at the Ben Gurion University, and I'm retired officially, but I'm still active I run a research lab in the medical school, etc. So I'm less involved in the everyday routine of Yad Sarah, although I'm aware of things and we talk about it at home, and I help what I can help. And I also have some connections with the university, with the hospital that are related to what we do in Yad Sarah. So Drora is there every day. I'm more sporadic.
Okay, thank you, Yaakov. We'll turn now to the Conroys, Lynne and David. What motivated you to start volunteering at Yad Sarah, Lynne?
Well, I think David should start first because he's been there longer.
Very good. David?
Okay, I started in November of 2009, volunteering when we were a little workshop out at Nachal Becker in a bomb shelter. All the equipment that used to come out there, the wheelchairs, walkers, and that used to come out there, we used to fix them up and then send them out from there. Then we moved, after a couple of years being out there, we moved over to the new building where we are at the moment. And I've been in the workshop ever since, 4 days a week from 7:30 in the morning. And we do what we need to do. Sorry.
Okay.
How did I get started? Well, I always like helping. I always like volunteering. And I was looking for somewhere interesting. So I went over to there. I tried it out. I was there originally 3 days a week, and then I went over 4 days a week. And I've been there ever since. I'm very happy there.
Sounds great. And Lynn, if I remember correctly, you were teaching English?
No, I'm not. Well, I'm doing that. I'm volunteering, teaching English twice a week. But I worked at the university at the Medical School for International Health. I've known Yaakov and Drora for many years. We govern at the same shul. And I retired at the end of 2020 and started doing the teaching, the volunteering teaching.
Right.
And one day we were walking home from shul, and Drora was telling me that she's looking for more people to work, especially at reception, which was problematic. So I said, why not? And since then, I've been working 1 day a week at Yad Sarah, at the Kabbalah, at the reception. I've been there for almost a year. I started last summer.
Wow. Okay, thank you. And we'll turn to Ruben. Ruben, you're a biomedical engineer.
Yes.
So how does a biomedical engineer end up at Yad Sarah?
Yeah, well, it's a long story, but I will try to summarize it. I was born in Argentina 70 years ago. My wife Aida and I completed our education there, got our degrees. She's a psychiatrist, me a biomedical engineer. We developed professionally and started a family. And when I was 44, Aida and I moved to Canada, where we continued our professions and lived there for 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, following our daughter, Aida and I made Aliyah 3 years ago and settled in Beersheva. We have a son in California with 2 grandkids and a daughter that now is living temporarily in London with 1 grandkid. I retired in Canada after a long career as a biomedical engineer and electronics professor when I made at a big college like Sapir in Sderot. Yeah, similar size. When I made Aliyah, I had in mind to keep working, but if not full-time, at least part-time. But then Corona happened and put my job search efforts on standby. And I thought then of volunteering as a way to make a contribution to our newfound community in Israel, doing what I do best and I enjoy most. So looking for alternatives, I bumped into Yad Sarah website. I was impressed. I noticed that their repair body shop of medical equipment was run by volunteers. So I didn't have to think it too much. I jumped into the opportunity with my 2 feet. And I am there 1 year and a half, approximately.
Oh, thank you. So now let's ask another important question regarding the Beersheva branch. How has it changed over the time that you've been a volunteer? And Yaakov and Drora have been there the longest, if I captured that correctly. So what has happened? No, the Conroys were there first?
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to turn to the Conroys. So what has happened over the time frame that you have been there, that you've been dedicated as a volunteer? What's happened that has changed within Yad Sarah Beersheva?
Well, the turnover of equipment and the equipment that is required has more than doubled, trebled even. People from all walks of life, even the soldiers, unfortunately soldiers are injured in that, they need equipment and we're there to help them. The Corona brought in a lot of demand for oxygen producing equipment. And we fortunately had this available to us, which the hospitals could not supply, and we could. But I think statistically, I think Drora and Jakob can give those figures. As I say, I work in the workshop, so I only see the repair side of it. I don't see the other side of it, what actually goes out.
So let's turn to Jakob and Drora, who are branch managers. You must have seen an evolution of change within the Beersheva branch of Yad Sarah. So what has that been?
Yeah, besides what David said, also the population of Beersheva doubled in the last 10 years, mostly because of the immigration of Russian Jews. So that doubles also the need of equipment. But it's not only equipment, it's other ambulatory services that Yad Sarah has. For example, we have a shikumon. It's people who rehabilitation center for about 30 people that was shut down during Corona, and we had to reopen it and rehabilitate it. And so many of the things that stopped during the Corona, not oxygen was very active, the supply of oxygen, but other activities, not in the building, but people who volunteer going to homes of people for against being by themselves, or to be friendly with them, or to fix things at home. So these things stopped, and now they have to be reunited, and that's most of what we do now, is to reactivate things that were dormant during the last two years. So that made a big difference. Yes, so and besides, Beersheva became the center of all the South, to the logistic center,
Yes.
to support and to send equipment from Yerushalayim to us in Beersheva, and then to all the branches from Rehovot to Eilat. So all these logistics had to be organized. There was a problem of, during the Corona, many of the shipments stopped, or there were orders by the center in Yerushalayim, and things couldn't reach Israel for whatever reason. And then suddenly everything opened, and so you had a lot of equipment, a lot of materials that had to be stored somewhere, and so it demanded some arrangements and extra work to do that. And we did that. We do that, not only the people who volunteer, but there is also a manager of the logistics manager of the branch, Golan, and he's responsible all the equipment part and how to send it. We are more involved in managing the volunteers, the people who and there are about 250 volunteers in the Beersheva branch, and so it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. We can detail it, what kind of work is needed.
What we can say is, first of all, out of the 250 volunteers, about half of them were partially, at least, disconnected during the years of the Corona. So we actually had to rebuild the groups of volunteers in all kinds, and that's fine. I mean, I think we managed to bring it to the point where it is now working more than it used to before, in terms of amounts of work that is being done there, more than it was before the Corona. And I also think, if we look at numbers in terms of people who come to lend equipment, or to buy equipment, or to use any of the other services that we give, for example, the groups groups of people that take care of sick people in the family. So we have groups to
therapy.
right, to help them to
A
cope.
social
and,
worker that gathers them and talks with them and
right,
support.
So these groups grew tremendously. We have a unit of telling life stories, okay? So we doubled the amount of books. I mean, this past year, we already published 17 books of people, very old people who are in need, but they couldn't go to the private market. But through Yad Sarah, which is, they pay just the very minimal money because the work is being done by volunteers. So we have already published this specific year 17 books, which is a lot. So I'm saying if we're looking at numbers, we can see that the place is working.
We're also involving the community to write down the life stories of people. So we have high school kids that volunteer and go with a grown-up, with an adult that does it also. So the two youngsters and an adult that go to houses and do that. Students of physical therapy and students of the medical school come to us to learn how we do certain things. So we want also for it to become a center that people can not only get equipment, but to get some more support and use. Yeah.
Well, we certainly have heard a lot about what's going on at Yad Sarah. So I want to turn to Ruben and ask you, you're in the equipment repair department. So
Yes.
what's a typical day for you at Yad Sarah?
Well, I volunteer in the electric mobility department, dealing with maintenance and improvement of electric scooters, kalnoyot, electric wheelchairs, and electric stair climbers. I would say it's the department with more direct contact with the user, as they normally arrive driving their units. And each medical device obviously has a user, right? And each user obviously has a story behind him. So there is a life story behind every equipment that we have the responsibility to bring back to life. This is the main thing. And I had the privilege to meet some users who bring us the equipment to repair. And you can see how grateful they are for our help and for what the Yad Sarah is doing for them. In most cases, we build a strong rapport with the people who need our help.
So
That's
can you
very
tell
nice
us?
and very
Can
nice.
you tell? Yeah, Ruben, could you tell us a story? Give us an example of somebody. You don't have to mention a name, but
Yes, for example, we let the people wait outside, but all of a sudden we find a user coming inside and handing us tools to repair his canoid. And he brought pastries with him to reward us because he knew we were volunteers. And we started all having coffee together. That was fantastic. So these kind of stories are normal. And so we don't now make them wait outside. If they want to participate in the repair and they behave correctly, we let them be part of the team.
well, thank you.
It's so nice.
Yeah, David, you're also a longer term in the repair arena of Beersheva's Yad Sarah branch. So what kind of story can you tell us that kind of stands out for you in terms of the assistance that you've provided?
Well, we get people from all walks of life, and they come in with their walkers or their crutches even, or their wheelchairs and that. And well, on the funny side, people come in and they try and tell us a story that I was walking along and the thing just collapsed. And you look at this and you find the wheels are missing, the rubbers from underneath the legs are missing, or bolts are putting in the wrong place. Somebody's tried to repair it by themselves.
Oh.
And you're trying to explain this to the people and say, but we didn't touch it. We've got a couple of wheels that we've stuck up on the window frames where you can see the dogs have actually chewed up the tires. And they said, we don't know how it happened. It's, you know, we walk along and that's how that's what happened.
No,
We get everything. We get everything.
yeah,
But
well,
as he says there, people are grateful for what we do for them. Okay, it does cost money because obviously the spare parts on the head have to be paid for, but the cost is minimal.
yeah.
But people really appreciate it.
Lynn, you're at the reception desk, so
Yes,
you must have a story to share with us that stands out.
Well, people phone up for all kinds of things. I'm trying to think of a story. I hadn't thought of anything beforehand. Very often when people phone up, they're not sure what they really need. So you've got to speak to them and find out what type of thing they need and why they need it. And sometimes it's better for them to buy things if it's for long term. And one of the questions that they keep asking is how long they can keep it. And when they want equipment, like the beds or cranes to lift the patient, I've got to tell them that they have to order from Jerusalem. And very often they say, no, but I want it from Beersheva. I don't want it from Jerusalem, and I'll come in and collect it. And we don't allow the borrowers to come and collect the big equipment, because in transporting the equipment, it can break. And very often they don't understand that this has to be done through Jerusalem. People phone up, and sometimes sort of once you speak to them about what they want, then they a lot of people, for instance, come in, phone up, and they say, I have a foreign worker who I want to send in to pick up a wheelchair for me. How do I go about it? But they have no idea what the right size of the wheelchair is or anything like that. So you've got to ask them all kinds of questions about what they really need. And sometimes I find that I speak to somebody on the phone, a little while later they come in, they say, I spoke to you a few minutes ago on the phone and now I've come in. But I can't think of a particularly funny or whatever story at the moment. Okay. But we have days that the phone doesn't stop ringing, or people come in and you've got to direct them to the right place. And there are other days that it's very quiet. Yeah, so let me turn to Yaakov and Drora. Of course, is what your typical day is since at Yad Sarah, since you're both branch managers. But what are some of the challenges of the work that you encounter at Yad Sarah? I'm very curious, I think we all are, as to what you encounter and how you resolve it.
So first of all, I would say that to me, the first goal is to bring all 250 volunteers that belong to our branch to the best point of being professional and giving the right service to the clients of Yad Sarah. And it's not necessarily that all of the volunteers are Ruben and David and Lynne, okay? So a lot of them are people who are quite aged, and they have their routines, and they have a hard time to learn or to keep up with the new things that come to Yad Sarah with the equipment, or that they lose patience, when they have to explain things or to ask things, the people who come to lend something or to buy something. So we really on daily basis, I walk in the building. We have like 3 stories, okay? Just to talk to the volunteers in terms of eye contact, in terms of, is everything okay around you? Is the surrounding of the place is fine? How can we help? That's one thing. So that's on daily basis, on daily routine. The other thing is trying to make some kind of lot of activities that will unite the group and will make them closer to the place and more identified with the place. So, for example, every Rosh Chodesh we publish a meidaon, like a newsletter, okay, of what's going on in our branch. What are the new things? What do we do together? What do we have to work on? Whatever. So this is one thing. We have once a month, we have a lecture for all of the volunteers in the evening on all kinds of topics, not necessarily connected to Yad Sarah, but just to feel that the place is part of their life, okay? So we have trips, day trips that we go at least 3-4 times a year with the whole group. So so this is one thing that for me is very important, and again, professionally, to try to give to try to give the
to teach
right,
new equipment, how to fix it, how to explain flyings, etc. Yeah.
So this is one thing that we really work on daily routine. Okay. The other thing is, you know, the connection with Yerushalayim, almost on daily basis. Okay, we are part of Jerusalem, of course. Okay, so we have things on daily basis that we work with them in terms of money, in terms of what we need, in terms of things in the building that have to be fixed, and like the computers, like the air condition, the communication, whatever. So it's actually on daily basis, just to keep the place in an optimum situation. The other thing is trying to the volunteers to
how to recruit
volunteers. So we have you know, we have connections with the city, with the municipality, with the Kupat Cholim in Beersheva, with social workers in Beersheva, with the so all these connections and all these contacts first bring us into industry. First bring us new volunteers, but not only that, they see us, Yad Sarah, as an important place in Beersheva, a place that is needed. Okay, so the more connections we have with all these groups of organizations, I think the better it is for Yad Sarah. At the end, we want to give the best services to the people that live here or around Beersheva. So we cannot be disconnected from the whole story of the city. Okay, so this is also almost on daily basis.
And then when volunteers come, when volunteers arrive, you have to interview them and then try to suggest what kind of work they want to do or they can do. Right. So we always give a tour of the place, and we say, you can fix the electronics, you can fix the mechanical, you can write stories of people, you can go and do pottery with the people in rehabilitation, etc. So that's another part of our job, to talk to people, and those that are willing to come to put them in the right place. Yes. Right.
The most important thing, of course, for all the volunteers is the assistance that providing to the clients, and the feedback that you get from clients who are satisfied, if not just ecstatic, to receive such support. We can just go around and again, I think it's very important for our viewers and our listeners, including me, to hear the impact of the role that you're playing, considering the noble efforts that you're engaging in as volunteers. If you can, I'll keep it with Yaakov and Drora for a moment, because I've more or less asked that question of Ruben and the Conroys. Is there a client or two that stands out that you can share with us in terms of what Yad Sarah has been able to provide?
I can think of not a few people, quite a few, but many people that are very stressed because today or tomorrow morning they have to take out a relative from the hospital, and they need many things, but they actually don't know what the things are.
More than that, sometimes the doctors at the hospital tell them, we're going to release the patient out, but here is a list of things that you have to make sure that you have at home. Now, you have Misrad HaBriut, okay, the health ministry. You can get some of the equipment through them, but it takes months, because you need all the papers and you need doctors' letters, whatever. And yet they need to take the patient out of the hospital in 2 days, and they have to have all this equipment right away. So they come and they, they can see that they can get all of their needs in Yad Sarah in one place.
No question asked and no paperwork. So people are usually grateful.
Yeah.
Most of the people are grateful. Sometimes people are angry because they didn't get the optimal service. And they see Yad Sarah not as a volunteer place, like they look at Yad Sarah as a store or as the government, and they
expect us.
They expect to be efficient because
they serve exactly what their needs are. And if you don't have this specific equipment,
how come you don't
have it? Or how come we have to wait for 2 days until this specific bed will come from Yerushalayim? So
you have to understand whom do you have in front of you. So, and again, most people are okay.
Fine.
And are and they understand the place.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in terms of people coming in front of you, I'm going to go back to the Conroys now and talk about the diversity of the clientele, the diversity of the individuals who come in. Of course, the vast majority of them are Jewish, Israelis, but there are those who at times are not. So rather than talk about it myself, I'm going to turn it back to you. David and Lynne, however you want to answer that question.
Okay, actually there are a large number of Bedouin who come in. I've noticed that a lot of them take wheelchairs and crutches, but there's also all kinds of other equipment they need, like breast pumps for newborn babies. There's a lot of that. So the clientele basically is from the very young, children who break legs or whatever need either a wheelchair or crutches, all the way through to senior citizens who come in. A lot of people come in, they need equipment for their aging parents. And the variety of languages is tremendous. My problem when I'm at the desk is when they come along and people say, can you speak Russian? And I don't know any Russian. But normally there's somebody around in the vicinity who can help out, or we struggle a bit in Hebrew or sometimes English. But
Ruben and I speak Spanish, so that's all.
We've got enough of we got them in the workshop. We've got Spaniard, Romanian, Russian.
Yes.
You name the languages, we've got them all.
Very often, one of the workers or one of the volunteers walks past and I say, "Excuse me, do you speak Russian? Because I've got someone on the phone who doesn't understand me." And I found that in most cases, the clients who come in are very appreciative of the services they get.
And Ruben, do you find the same thing?
Well, don't forget, I lived many years in Canada, which is one of the most culturally diverse countries in the world also.
Yeah.
So I am used to deal with diverse users. They might see things in a different way. For example, they are more assertive, they are less patient, and with the repair times, may have more difficulty explaining the problems, but it's nothing that I haven't dealt with before.
Are
So
there
we can
cultural?
tackle them. We are prepared to deal with difficult clients.
Are there cultural considerations? We've talked about the Bedouins, the Russians, and others. Are there cultural considerations that you have to take in mind as you're providing the equipment?
Well, we need to be respectful, but I don't see any particular consideration.
Yeah, Yaakov, you want to say something on that?
You know, I just wanted to say that, no, it's like a catch-22 with some of the Bedouin clients. We have to understand that most of them live not in cities and not necessarily in built homes, okay? So when they come and take equipment, wheelchair, crutches, a bed, whatever, this equipment is not going to come back at the same shape that it was given to them. So you can be very angry about it, but on the other hand, when you think about it, where it was being used, and you know, if they have to take the wheelchair and to run on the hills around Beersheva, to bring it unpaved roads.
Yeah, unpaved roads.
So you can understand why the equipment is coming back in such a shape, okay? So as we said before, knowing who is in front of you and trying to think of what the home they are coming from and what their needs are, according to their culture, to the way they live, to whatever the country is giving them or not giving them, whatever. So that's part of our daily life there here in Beersheva.
And they're not a small minority. There are 30% of our clients are Bedouins.
More than 30%. More than 30%. It's a lot. Yeah.
And we have one Bedouin volunteer.
Yeah, from Rahat. Just one.
So he's the one that, if he's there, he's the one that speaks Arabic. Yes. So
yes.
I think we have more than one. Yes.
What a lot of people don't realize is, you know, you talk about wheelchairs as an example.
Yeah.
The range of different types of wheelchairs, and they expect us to keep parts for every one of those wheelchairs. Right. So we try and accommodate it to fit, to repair the wheelchairs, because these are a lot of them are privately owned. The person comes in, my wheelchair is broken. Now, on the one side, they get upset. Why are you charging me? Well, somebody unfortunately has to cover the expenses. So we'll go easy maybe on the work, the labor, but on the spare parts, we have a minimum price that we can charge them. We try and help as much as possible. But when you get 10 different types of wheelchairs, it's impossible to cover spare parts for all of them. But we manage. We don't let anybody go home. We don't have spare parts. There's nothing we can do. We do it.
That's an important thing that David said, because Yad Sarah has grown tremendously over the years.
Yes.
New branches are being opened all the time. So I can see the logistics of keeping everything more or less that you know what you have and you know what you have to buy, and to foresee what are going to be the needs in the next few months or years. And that's that's very complicated. I can see the difficulty of maintaining the logistic optimally. And sometimes what we have is there is equipment that's lacking, and sometimes we have a surplus of equipment of a certain item. And okay, so you have to
And
manage.
also, just to continue the things that David was talking about, is, you know, if you need the regular wheelchair, as he said, so most likely we have it, you'll get it, and you go home and you're happy. The most interesting cases, I'm saying, yeah, are those who need very specific requirement. And the easy way for a volunteer is to say, well, we don't have it. And here starts the story. Do we say, no, we just don't have it? Or we do all effort to make sure that we can fix something according to what this specific client needs? And that's actually the real service, you know, that you do the effort to give the service, even if it takes time, effort.
It's not standard.
And it's not the standard things that is always around. Okay, so I think if we get to the point where we can supply most of the needs, even if they are difficult to supply to the clients, that means that we do our job. So
and we have a volunteer that his job is to meet the special needs, the special equipment, to organize something, to look if something is available somewhere else, to ask somebody for advice how to add a certain holder for a cup, something like that on a standard equipment.
And I must say a word about Golan, who is in charge of the building, who is in charge of
Logistics.
Beersheva,
Logistics, yeah.
South, okay? He is a person, first professionally, who knows all of this unique equipment, okay? And second, he loves people. So when somebody approaches him, never does he say no.
No.
And he is looking in all the branches of the South or the North, how to accommodate this specific equipment to the specific needs of this client, you know, and this is very, I think that is very unusual. For me, it was a big surprise, you know.
It's the extra effort.
Yes.
The extra effort.
I attest to that.
Right? I mean, Nachon, Ruben, you saw that with Golan. Today, this person from Eilat, you know, that needed something specific to his wheelchair, motorized wheelchair. Okay? There was no way in other place in the South that his wheelchair could be fixed, okay? And finally today it happened by us. So, and it is just because people feel that they have to give this service. So,
yeah, so you spoke before, Drora, about being surprised. What experiences have you had at Yad Sarah that are most surprising? So Drora already spoke to one of them. Ruben, do you want to share something of?
Yes, I wouldn't talk about
unanticipated?
surprises. I wouldn't talk about surprises, but the environment, you know,
Yes.
the whole environment is fresh enough to keep you constantly interested. There are always the new things. Every single day, something different happens. Some new user appears, some new problem needs to be solved, and it all keeps stimulating the desire to volunteer 3 times a week.
And I also understand that there are lectures for the volunteers too.
Yes.
Who wants to speak to that? Ruben, do you want to?
Yes, there are lectures and of different
Drora?
topics. They are not necessarily lectures about what happens at Yad Sarah.
Yes. So, excuse me? Go.
I've been to most of the lectures, and they've been extremely interesting. We've had lectures about legal issues such as preparing wills, and a lecture about, I'm trying to remember now what all of
Yaakov gave one of them
Yaakov
himself.
gave one lecture that was very
I talk about
interesting.
cancer. Yeah.
About cancer, that's right.
Yes.
And they've been interested there for Yom HaShoah, Yom HaZikaron, we had people speaking about their experiences in the Holocaust. And
Yes.
the lectures are very varied. And the only thing I can really say about it that is a pity is that more of the volunteers don't come. It would be much nicer if more volunteers came, because the lectures are extremely interesting and very professional.
Yes.
So let's begin the, yeah, go
I-
ahead.
I-
Drora.
I think it's a matter of awareness, because all these activities were not part of the daily life of Yad Sarah.
Mhm.
So I think it takes time until people understand, that we want the place to be part of their life, not only the volunteer part of the professional wheelchair, but as a place to
Interact with all the friends, with other
okay?
people. Yeah.
So
Feel a connection to the place.
so I feel that it's a matter of time, and more and more people will.
We've seen an
join.
increase of people.
Yeah,
Start with
we can-
10 people, and the last time was about 30 people
So
that came. So slowly, and we don't expect everybody to come, 250 people each time, but
and we also understand, it's an evening time, and these are mostly older people that sometimes have difficulties to leave home, at night.
it was in the winter.
And it was some of the lectures were during the winter. So it's understandable, but we say, we try. We have to try to do our best, and
Right.
see what
So-
works, what doesn't.
So one of the new projects that I read about it in Beersheva is the fall prevention
Right,
project.
right.
So I think it'd be very informative for our viewers and listeners to learn more about the work that you're doing in that arena. Who wants to address that? Who's prepared to address?
So we have
Okay, Yaakov.
over the years, there's been volunteers that go into homes of people. We have a list of people through the municipality that they know they're elderly, they are by themselves and things like that, and to fix things, to put a handle in the shower, to bring a chair, to glue the carpet so they don't slip, etc. So that was the routine, and people, and these are mostly people that still work. They're not retired. The volunteers, they work in the industry. They're very handy, and they're organized as a group. And they, after work, they don't come to the branch in Yad Sarah, but they go directly from work or from home. They go to these places and do what they have to do.
We supply the equipment to them. They come, they pick it up according to the home they are going to fix, whatever is needed there.
Plumbing, electricity,
whatever,
something.
the parts, and that's it.
So taking advantage that we have this list of people, so Yad Sarah got from the Jerusalem municipality to supply equipment or a kit, and the Social Security department of the country, a kit of supplies to prevent falling, because there are 1,000 people fall every day in Israel. Some of them, nothing happens to them. Some of them break a hip, a leg, or a hand, or whatever. And especially older people, we all know, and it is the beginning of deterioration. So if we can prevent people from falling, so that's a big thing. So these same people that volunteer fixing things now go purposely to install things that will prevent.
So we have now from the social Bituach Leumi, I don't know, it's social security, or it's the social okay, names of 300 families here in Beersheva that are that are needed families.
And they're
And
prone
their
to
homes,
falling.
right, and their homes are not well equipped.
Mhm.
So we now go on daily basis, every day, 2-3 homes to fix their homes with this kit of supplies. And it is when they come to the home, the people there have to answer a questionnaire of what their situation is. They have to accept the fact that in a year we'll come again and see if it really prevented them from falling, and see if all the parts of the equipment is still functioning, and or they need new things, because as they get older, sometimes you have to adjust the new equipment. So this is now actually in process.
It's also
okay?
research. It's a research program, and most people have failed before. When you
Right.
ask them, have you ever failed before? Yes, I failed before. So you have an idea. So you can actually see what if this kit of equipment is useful or not. And we believe it is. We believe it is. Yes.
So,
Sorry,
yeah.
I just want to say one other thing here is we also, from Yad Sarah, have an emergency call button that we have installed. Well, one of the engineers from our workshop goes and has them installed at the houses of certain people. That's if, God forbid, somebody falls and
Right.
cannot get up, they've got a
Right.
button they can press on. It calls an emergency number that sends somebody out to them. And this has
More
been
than that,
installed a lot
David.
lately.
There is also you don't have to press a button. There's a sensor where that sense this thing is fell and lost consciousness, for example. So it calls automatically to a center. Yes.
Friends, we're going to have to begin wrapping up. So our hour together is drawing to a close. But I do want to ask one last question with preferably a brief answer. And that is, what is the most favorite aspect of your volunteerism at Yad Sarah? Just think about one dimension of the role that you play that you really, really enjoy and you find most rewarding. So we'll start with Ruben.
Yes, well, I think that one of the it's never too late in life to make a difference for the better in the life of other human being, right? And this is has been very rewarding and meaningful for me since I joined Yad Sarah. So summarizing, I feel like a privilege to be doing this job, this volunteer job.
Thank you, Ruben. David and Lynne?
I find it very rewarding helping people and making sure that they've got what they need. And very often it's just a matter of answering questions and giving them the correct information. It's extremely rewarding.
David?
Yeah, well, seen a happy customer.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
very important.
We'll go to Drora and Yaakov. Drora?
On top of helping, obviously, I mean, that's the main essence, the raison d'etre of Yad Sarah, obviously. Personally, to me, the fact that I have to keep thinking on daily basis of what to do and how to develop and how to make better things and how to work things better. To me, that's very important.
Okay. Thank you, Drora. And Yaakov, you're going to get the last word.
Yes.
Can you just get yourself on screen? You're off screen.
Yeah, my biggest enjoyment is Drora's soup when she prepared for the lectures. for the lecture. She brings her special concoctions, and sometimes also a cake. So it's not that I don't have it at home, but you know, to share it with other people when we are there. So that's for me a very nice thing.
Well, that might be an excellent reason for me to come down and visit my next trip to Beersheva.
You're invited.
To get some
You
of
are
Drora's
welcome.
Maybe you'll give a
Thank you.
lecture. Maybe you'll give a lecture. So
Who knows? Who knows? But I so much wanted to thank Drora and Yaakov and Lynne and David and Ruben for spending such quality time with us, so we could learn so much more about the activities of Yad Sarah in Beersheva, that extraordinary branch I read about that has actually 9 departments. There's so much which goes on there with the 250 volunteers and thousands of clients of all different cultures and backgrounds. We really have been just treated to this conversation. I thank them very, very much, particularly since it's late in the evening over in Israel. I thank our executive director, Adele Goldberg, for arranging this, and Rachel Richter working behind the scenes. I look forward to being with you all again in a future webinar, and wish everybody in Israel a good night, and the rest of us and all, shalom. Take good care.
Shalom, shalom.
Thank you very much for the effort.
Thank you so much.
Organize
Thank
this
you.
to everybody.
Anytime.
Perfect.